when we're doing this. So I'm pretty proud of them, and it's been a lot of fun. So start off real quick with a few comments about the Central Florida game. You know, it was an entertaining game to watch because there's so much scoring, but I've heard some people criticize Johnny Dawkins' coaching strategy, and I kind of see what he was trying to do. I mean, he was trying to outscore us because he looked at the UCF game and thought he probably could, and it just didn't work, and they didn't adjust to it at all. Just kind of sat there and watched us destroy UCF. So it was an entertaining game to watch. If you're an Iowa State fan, not so much. If you're a Golden Knights fan or whatever their logo is today.
Yeah, I agree. I think I think the West Virginia game, obviously offensively we struggled, but I mean if you look at the metrics, we're still a top 10 offensive team, so trying to outscore us is an interesting strategy. But yeah, I mean they didn't defend us at all. It looked a lot like the Hoiberg years, especially early when we just couldn't guard anyone and try to outscore people, and they were pretty good at it. And the thing is, they're pretty talented. I mean, they had a kid go for 40 a couple weeks ago. They should have beat Houston 2 weeks ago.
Right, that's crazy. That's absolutely crazy.
So that's the thing. I think they're dangerous because they are talented, and if they got shots going in, and they have the athletes to defend, it's just whether or not they want to, or if they're being coached to do it effectively. But yeah, I think it was nice to see Heidi make a three. That was I think just kind of get the monkey off the back and see one go in. He's still not lighting up by any means, but I think down the stretch, I think law of averages is going to come into effect, and he'll start making some shots. And I mean, the main thing for us was Josh Jefferson scoring 30. I mean, right. I don't think anyone at the beginning of the year thought he would have a game like that. And I mean, 3 for 4 from 3. I mean, we're really tough to guard if we have 3 people making shots, but if we have a 4th guy that can step out and make shots, it's going to make us really, really tough to defend. Yeah, I mean, 108 points. That's also crazy. It's the first time we're in triple digits in the Big 12 play since the Missouri quadruple overtime game, which
that was a long time ago. Yeah.
With Quinn Snyder and Kareem Rush or something like that.
Yeah, and that was the the players and the coaches just kind of hugged each other and it was over because they were so exhausted. I mean, it was
right.
And it was in Missouri, which I still wish we played, and it was also a rivalry, and Tinsley was trying to refuse to lose down there. And it was a fun game, but yeah, it's crazy.
They played an extra half of basketball to score 100. And we scored 108 points in 40 minutes.
Right. Yeah. And Joshua, when Joshua makes threes like that, we aren't guardable. I mean, and I don't know where the narrative started that Heisey was going to come in and be a shooter, but he's never been a shooter. I mean, he's never been a 40% 3-point shooter. He was, I think, as high as like 34% at UNI for the year. So, I think by the end of the year he's probably low 30s. He's just right now kind of in a slump and has a confidence issue. But that isn't, if he makes 1 or 2 every once in a while, that's fine. But that's not what he's bringing to the table right now. He's a great defender. He got really the bad end of the calls against Arizona State and kind of put him in foul trouble. And then when that starts happening to you, then you start guessing. I mean, what can I do and what can I do? I mean, and so that was just one of those nights that he was just not one of the favorites of the officials. So let's go ahead to the Arizona State game. I listened to Bobby Hurley's press conference, and then I listened to an Arizona State podcast yesterday, and both of them were complaining about the officiating, about how bad they were treated by the officials at their own floor, and I just couldn't understand it. I mean, I didn't see that. I thought we didn't get the good end of the call at all, especially after the West Virginia game where it was basically a rugby game. But, it was something that he was kind of whining about, the whole Keyshawn Gilbert foul that was turned into an intentional or whatever they called it. And, Bobby Hurley, I think, is a really good coach. He comes from a great basketball family. But, boy, it was 2 polar opposite ways to coach a team on Saturday.
Yeah, I mean, I think it just illustrates how good TJ is at talking to refs. And I think you just watch him. He's really political about it, but he's also very intentional where he can let them know that he's not super happy with how they call it. But I think what he does really well is he always asks what they saw or what their side of the story was. And sometimes he rolls his eyes because he obviously doesn't agree, but he's never making them or attacking them as people. And I think Bobby Hurley, I mean, he's just so unhinged the entire time, and just I feel like it's kind of becomes white noise for the officials by the end. But it's got to get old too, because I mean, it's not going to like probably make people want to call things your way for the most part of the time. But like you said, I think the refs are probably a C plus for both sides. The one charge call on Keyshawn was terrible.
Oh, right. Yeah.
Derek Heff maybe said something that he shouldn't have on live air, but that's the thing. I think that's one, as a program, I mean, how many times did we have phone calls after games and we just talked about the refs the entire time? Right now, we're good enough that the referees don't really matter. The referees is not why we lost West Virginia. The reason we lost against West Virginia is we made 1-3 out of 17 shots. That's why we lost. So, I mean, our defense kept us in it. We were down one possession with 2 minutes to go.
And didn't get to the free throw line either. I mean, that was
eight free throw attempts, which was like 11 fewer than our fewest to that point. Which, I mean, yeah. So I think the West Virginia game is not a cause for concern. I think too bad for them. They haven't won a game since, which they've got some talent too, but also they're missing their best player in Tucker.
But they were against us as well. I mean,
no, I know, but I think Javon Small's good, but they also had some guys kind of go unconscious, which helped them win. But again, we're not here to talk about the West Virginia game. I think the Arizona State game, they're talented. They've got some guards that are skilled. They were making shots, and some people we had some friends that were there and said the environment was really good. It was loud at times, but I mean, there was also a lot of times because half the place was filled with Iowa State fans, which I think is a credit to our fan base as well. But I think what we've said time and time again is to beat us, you've got to play close to perfect for 40 minutes. And Arizona State played close to perfect for about 32 minutes, and then the wheels came off and we put the pressure on, and then we ended up winning by 15. And that's with being down 1 point with like 6 minutes to go.
Yeah, Bobby Hurley said in his press conference, he said that was the most visiting fans he's ever seen in his career there. He said, including Kansas. And he said it wasn't a home court advantage. It was at best a home neutral. So, yeah, he was pretty impressed with the Iowa State fans that showed up there. And, and the game tonight against Arizona, everybody said it was sold out and the tickets were a lot higher. Well, I listened to an Arizona podcast yesterday, and they did a flash sale for $45 tickets for the game tonight. They did that for 24 hours starting on Saturday. So they had some tickets they were holding back maybe to keep them away from Iowa State fans. I don't know. I mean, but I also listened to a clip of the Arizona players after their game, and they said Iowa State we shouldn't be worried about Iowa State. They should be worried about us. Yeah,
okay.
So that was bulletin board material for us. I'm sure Curtis saw that. So,
yeah, I mean, I've watched Arizona a couple times, and nothing about them scares me. I'm Caleb Love. I had a good year. I don't know, what was it, like 7 years ago for North Carolina. So they've got some big guys that are okay, but I don't know. We have many ways we can beat you, and what I love, one of the coolest lineups I've seen all year was probably the last 8 minutes of the game. We had Demarion and Joshua at the post with our 3 guards, and we can really spread you out with that on the offensive end, and on the defensive end, we can switch 1 through 5. Because I mean, Demarion switched on Javon Small against West Virginia and stayed in front of him. I mean, he's one of our best on-ball defenders, and he's 6'8" and long, and probably our best rim protector too. So
he blocked the last 3 of Arizona State. That was poetic justice.
Yeah, I mean, just talk about him. I'm so happy for him. He's just obviously a high character kid, and especially in this day and age where people transfer because they play 20 minutes instead of 22 minutes. He's had every reason to transfer, but he stuck it out, and now he's playing big minutes on the number 3 team in the country and probably going to be a 1 seed. So, I mean, I think it's a good message, especially for kids growing up, just to show like there is still value in loyalty and working hard. And he's obviously worked on his game because I mean his shot has looked better each year. And if he can be a threat from the 3-point range too, it just adds another layer of being able to stretch people out. And I think one huge play down the stretch on Saturday was his back cut that Joshua found and led to a dunk. I mean, because we just have guys that make winning plays. Like him and Heisey aren't going to fill up the stat sheet as far as scoring points, but they just do so many little things that lead to winning. And both him and Demarion are both also great rebounders. Demarion had some big offensive rebounds too. So I just can't say enough. And I think it shows how smart our fans are, because I mean, Demarion's getting the biggest ovation of any player at home.
Right. Yeah, that's wild. Yeah.
6 games. It just shows that we really appreciate all the work he's done. And I don't know. I'm lobbying for he should play more. I mean, there's never a time when Demarion's in that I'm like, man, he's hurting us.
Right. I honestly think, from the outside looking in, I think he doesn't play quite with the energy that TJ wishes he would. I mean, he just doesn't, but it might be just because of the way he's built, because he's got such long limbs, and it's hard for a guy to show energy when you're that long. But, let's talk about that play where he had the dunk. I mean, that was out of a dead ball on the corner in the backcourt when Joshua Jefferson throws a baseball pass to the opposite half-court line to Curtis and found a hole in their press. When he cranked up to throw that, I was just saying, what are you doing? And then he hit him like Brock Purdy at the half-court line, and then comes back and gets the ball. And Joshua Jefferson is such a great passer. That pass to Demarion was fantastic, and that was a huge play in the game.
Yeah,
because it was, and because if you watch the end of the game, I mean, Arizona State just kind of said, "I can't believe this is happening," and just kind of packed it in a little bit. So, I was a little bit worried the whole time because we were letting them hang around, but they're talented. I mean, they've got a lot of talent. They just don't know how to win. And we do. I mean, we just outlast people. The thing that I've got a concern about going into tonight against Arizona is that Curtis played 40 minutes. I mean, that's a 48-hour turnaround with Curtis playing that many minutes. I mean, I know he's a kid, and we've got a lot of really good recovery ways to do it, but still, at the end of the day, you're playing 40 minutes, and I just hope his legs are okay tonight.
Yeah, and I hope. I mean, he had 33. I mean, we could talk about Curtis for 6 hours. My goodness, he has one of the bigger jumps from one year to the next as any player as I've ever seen. Naz Long comes to mind just because he was so bad as a freshman, and then he ended his career as one of the best 3-point shooters in Iowa State history. But Curtis now can score from anywhere. His floaters, they're always contested. He's always getting bumped. And he is hitting those probably like 70%.
Right. I'd really like to know what percentage his floaters are. I mean, because it is insane.
Yeah, because I mean, there's times where he hits like 6 in a row, and it's almost an impossible shot to defend, because unless you're 6'10", you really can't challenge him at the release. And I mean, gosh, there's times where we have nothing offensively, and he finds a way. And I mean, to cap it off with a 30-foot three, which was, you could, when he had the ball, I'm like, he's gonna launch this, because he has just been so good. I've talked to Thomas too. I mean, he's approaching one of the best basketball players we've ever had.
Curtis?
He's having that kind of year.
Oh, yeah.
He's having one of the best years of anyone. He's averaging over 18 a game, which I looked at our history. It's not even top 10 for a season. I think the 10th was like 23 a game. We had some guys that averaged like 29 a game back in the 70s, which I didn't realize that we had that kind of scoring prowess. But
it was probably Andrew Parker and Herkel Ivey.
Yeah, it was. That's incredible. But he has just been so good. But I think what you said, I am worried too. I think one of the luxuries we've had early is no one really played more than 32, 33 minutes, because we were playing 8 guys pretty evenly without Milan, where our rotations have been much tighter. But I mean, Keyshawn had a bad first half, really turned on down the stretch, and he can get to the rim as good as anyone, and he's just so good at finishing at the rim. I really wish there's some times where he's trying to draw a foul and not make it, which I think he's not getting as many calls as he did earlier. But I think tonight he's got to step up for sure. Taman, what can you say about him too? I mean, he's battling a thumb injury, and he's hurt all over the place. But you can't tell defensively. I mean,
no, not at all.
He's on every ball and really puts the pressure on their best player. But I think offensively, we've got to got some other guys to pick up the slack with Curtis, because we can't rely on him scoring 33 every night. I mean, I keep saying that, but he still scores over 20 almost every night.
33 and no fouls.
Yeah.
Played 40 minutes.
I know it's like 6 or 7 rebounds too. And
yeah,
he has been incredible. So I think there are opportunities. I think Joshua Jefferson's really stepped up since Milan's been out offensively too. He's really putting the pressure on because what I love about Joshua, he's so intelligent. He can identify when whoever's guarding him, if they're smaller, he's just going to back you down to the rim and shoot a 5-foot hook shot, which he's really good at. He's got really good touch around the rim. Or if someone's a little bigger, he's a little more facilitator, and he kind of draws his guy away from the rim and then can find either Deshaun or someone cutting. So he is just so versatile. It makes it so hard to guard. So, yeah, I think it's a quick turnaround. I mean, it's not that quick of a turnaround because our tip is until 9:30 Central Time. So at least he's got like another full day today to recover. But yeah, I mean, if we can come away, if we win tonight, the hype train's going to just continue to gain momentum, which my hopes for winning the Big 12 really took a big hit Saturday because Kansas had one of the worst collapses at the end of the game twice, regulation and overtime. Bill Self's got to be throwing up. It was just
Zeke Mayo closed down his social media.
It was so bad. I mean, end of regulation, they're up 6 with free throws, missed 2 free throws, and then they're down. Ends up being down 2. They get a 5-second call. They foul Juwan Roberts. He makes 2 free throws. They call a timeout. They don't even get a shot off. They turn the ball over. Overtime. And then I don't know if you saw the highlights of the overtime debacle. No. They're up 6 with 10 seconds left.
Oh, yeah, I did. Yeah, right. Yeah, I did.
Sharp hits an incredible 3. They throw the ball away to someone. They just throw it directly to a Houston player who catches it and shoots it, hits a 3, tie game.
Yeah.
At Kansas.
Yeah.
I'm sure it was ridiculous, which I think it just goes to show this transfer portal era. It's hard to get everyone, because everyone has different experiences. If you don't have consistency, when it comes down to crunch time, you need guys that know how to win and know how to win together, and Kansas doesn't. Houston does. I mean, Houston is tough as nails again. Yeah.
How did they almost lose to UCF? I mean, I just don't. I know it was at UCF, and they should have lost. I watched that game. They should have lost to UCF.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they're not as good as last year, I don't think, offensively, because Jamal Shed was really, really good. They don't have a guy, and I think LJ Cryer he's always been a Robin. He's never going to be Batman. Roberts is Batman. He's really good. But I think they just have times where they don't score. They're still obviously as good as anyone defensively. I mean, they are the best team defensively because, I mean, they're bigs. They have 5 bigs that are 6'10" or taller, and they're really athletic and really good rebounders. So, I mean, they're going to be a tough out. I mean, that'll be a big game. It stinks they don't come to Hilton this year, and I don't think anyone's going to expect us to win at Houston. But if we do, that'd be a really cool way to have the tiebreaker to win the Big 12. But I think, honestly, at this point, our mindset – has got to be just peak in March. Winning the Big 12 regular season would be awesome. That's not what matters this year. This is a team that can win it all. And especially with Milan out, I think we'll probably drop a game or 2 more than we probably would have if he was healthy. But, I mean, I'd rather have Milan out now than out in March.
Right. Yeah. So we said when it happened, this is an opportunity for us to build some depth, and obviously it's happening with Demarion. Yeah. I mean, Demarion has really stepped up, and where the whole debate was, is it going to be Noyes or Demarion? And obviously Demarion was the right call because I mean, I've been a fan of him since day one, just because he's just the way he's built. I mean, he has a basketball body. I mean, that's just he was built on this planet to do that kind of stuff, and he plays with the same demeanor as Jefferson. Not too high, not too low. Just kind of, does his thing and gets hyped up a little bit every once in a while. But I think tonight, Deshaun seems like he's been struggling a little bit. I think he needs to step up a little bit and have a little bit better game than he has been the last couple times out. He just is, he got in foul trouble again against Arizona State, and he should be rested. He only played 17 minutes, and Chatfield only played 13. So, I mean, we should. Yeah,
honestly, it's been interesting. Demarion's taking more of Chatfield's minutes than anyone else, which is interesting. But again, I think that we're doing this right where we're not going to be totally burnt out like we have been the last 3 years, just because TJ's rotations have been so tight where our main guys are playing 35 plus minutes. We don't have to do that this year, especially our bigs. I mean, our bigs will be fresh in March because Deshaun's only averaging 19 minutes a game as a starter. I totally agree. Demarion's obviously, I think we can go 9 deep now when Milan comes back, which is incredible. I've been saying every week that I really wish Noyes would get a shot only because Heisey has been close to a 0 on offense. And then it's not an indictment on Heisey. I think Heisey is an incredible basketball player and helps us win. He's one of our best defenders. He really rebounds well. And he's such a low ego guy where he's only going to help us. But if Noyes came in as a shooter, we heard about all summer how he's maybe one of our best shooters. He just didn't show it early. And then I think his issue was he turned the ball over, which TJ is just not going to tolerate, which is fine. I totally get that, but it would be nice if Noyes had some experience in Big 12 play where if he needs to play in March, he's already kind of been there. And I mean, I just have a feeling there's going to be a game where we get in foul trouble where he gets a shot and he could hit a couple threes. I just would like to see him get that opportunity. And also, too, it's always in the back of my mind. You just watch his highlights coming out of high school. I mean, he is definitely skilled. And I just don't want him to transfer and bring his skill to another place, which obviously you can't think about. But I can see it where I think he's shown flashes where he could help us offensively. And the thing is, too, there was never a time when he did play earlier. He wasn't a liability defensively. I think he's a better defender than Milan. Definitely Milan as a freshman.
But he was a walking turnover for a while there, and he's shooting 15% for 3.
Yeah. But I mean, you watch him warm up. He's not a 15% 3-point shooter. So
JT Rock.
Yeah, maybe he's
JT Rock can definitely shoot it if you go by warm ups. Yeah, he can. I'm shocked every time I watch him warm up how good of a shooter he is.
He's shooting deep threes too. So
yeah, right.
So I guess I don't think we're going to play 9 or 10 down in March. And TJ's always kind of been an 8-man rotation. It's just I don't want us to get in a game where we're in the Sweet 16 and we go 2 for 17 from 3. Because Heisey's 0 for 5. You know what I mean? So it's just I don't think our plan should be Heisey's just going to start making threes. He may make a couple here and there. He's not going to miss every single one. But it would just be nice to have another offensive option. I don't think it's going to happen, but I'm probably still going to mention it every game.
I just don't know where that narrative started with Nate. I mean, saying
that he made 47 threes last year. He 36%. So it's not. And right now he's shooting 25%. So it's not. He's not Taman as a freshman, but I mean he's shooting like Taman as a freshman right now. So it's just. And I obviously as a shooter, it's a lot of mental. And now he's turning down shots because he obviously isn't confident that they're going to go in.
All right. He's a career 33% shooter. He was 35.5% last year. Must have been hurt the previous year because he didn't play very much. And then 2021, 2022, he was about 36% and then 31%. So, I mean,
if he was mid-30s, we would take that in a heartbeat.
Right. That's what I'm saying. I think he'll end up there. I mean, I really do. I mean, it's just the law of averages that he didn't forget how to shoot all of a sudden, but he's only taken 32 so far this year. So the difference between him being a 35% 3-point shooter and a 25% 3-point shooter today is 3 makes because he's only taken 32.
Yeah. But I mean, right. But I mean, he's 1 for whatever in Big 12 play, which is just not going to cut it.
But I mean, it's just gotten in his head. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, yeah, no, I mean, there's a state game. It was. Go ahead.
I'm just saying, when he's out there and is not a threat, it makes us much easier to guard, and it makes it much harder on Taman and Keyshawn to get to the rim, just because at times they're not even guarding him.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to criticize. I'm not going to criticize Nate because I think he brings a lot to the table besides 3-point shooting. He's not. I mean, Milan brings 3-point shooting, and that's about it. I mean, and he's a phenomenal 3-point shooter. That's why we miss him so much. But Nate's a really good rebounder. He can guard anybody. He's a grown man. He's strong. So it's kind of, I mean, I can't believe we're even going down the road of criticizing anybody this season right now. I mean,
I'm not. It's not a criticism. It's just more. It's more of an observation. There are times when we do struggle offensively when he's in, and he's just not a threat. It just makes us easier to guard. I'm not saying he should play less.
That happened in West Virginia, exactly. Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. At West Virginia, there were times where we couldn't get to the rim, couldn't get a foul called, and when at times we had 0 3-point threats when Curtis was out. That's just not. I guess my point is it's more less on Nate. It's just more this opportunity to potentially add more depth with Noyes getting a few minutes. And I'm not saying Noyes should play 20 minutes. I want him to play in a game in meaningful minutes in Big 12 play. I don't know if it's going to happen, but
yeah, our bench Saturday had 1 3-point attempt. But the thing Saturday, go back to Saturday. I mean, we scored 24 points from the free throw line. I mean, if that happens, we win every game. I mean,
I agree.
That much.
Yeah, that's what it's been, and we've been so good from the free throw line compared to the years previously, where some guys were just total liabilities. I mean, like Robert Jones. Nothing against Robert Jones, but Deshaun Jackson is so good at the free throw line, and it makes such a difference. Because sometimes he has 12 points. Yeah, sometimes he has 12 points, and 8 of them from the line.
Yeah.
So, and the thing is, too, I think the Big 12 play has probably called it tighter than years previous. I think some, like, especially with us, like we were so rough and tough where they let a lot of things go. In March, they typically don't.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we're getting the line 24 times a game now, that's only going to probably get better in the tournament, which is going to be nice because there are times, especially when we're struggling to score, free throw line's a good place to kind of break a slump.
Yeah, Deshaun's shooting 78% from the free throw line right now.
Yeah, that's awesome.
For a big, that's insanity. I mean, yeah.
Well, and Joshua's almost close to 82. So, I mean, yeah, we don't really have a liability from the free throw line, which helps a ton.
Yeah, was the crowd and the fact that, it's the first time we've ever played them down there, I believe. That's right. I mean, it was an entertaining game because you never know what you're going to get yourself into when you go to these teams that we just haven't seen before. So, I mean, Arizona State's sitting at 11-8, 2-6, but they've got a lot of talent on that team. So, I mean, they could obviously, they showed they could raise up and beat anybody. They've been in almost every game, but they went into West Virginia and beat them. So who knows? I mean,
yeah, and West Virginia is not an easy place to play. And I mean, they kind of remind me of Kansas this year's football. Like Kansas's football team this year is super talented. They just didn't put it together for every game. But yeah, I mean, any road win in the Big 12 is nice. And there was a quad 1 win after Arizona State beat West Virginia, which is always nice too. But every opportunity where we get, and I mentioned to you this weekend, where it's nice to not blow teams out. It's nice to have to get through adversity and make plays down the stretch. And we've had a lot of those games where we really, it comes down to the last 5 minutes and we've executed extremely well. And the thing is too, the way we guard is like you said, it tires teams out. And then in the final 5 minutes, sometimes they make mistakes they probably wouldn't have made if they were a little more fresh. So I think it's just been great experience, and it's only going to help us down the stretch in March. Yeah, so it was a fun game. The thing is too, I think what we're really not used to is we're a big draw now. Like,
right.
we're the number 3 team come to any opposing arena. Like that's a big deal, especially if they beat us. Like that's like court storming, and like they talk about like their grandkids. They'll tell their grandkids like, "Man, we beat number 3 Iowa State, and I was there." You know what I mean? So that's a little foreign to us, but it doesn't seem to bother our kids at all, which is super nice. I think that goes to show TJ just kind of keeps us kind of steady, where we're not too high, not too low, and we're also old too. Like we've had guys that have played in big games, and we just really don't have the meltdowns that we've had in previous years, which is also extremely helpful.
Well, I'm really hoping we get the A team for the officials tonight, because it feels like the last couple nights we've had a few games, we've had guys that I have never seen before. There was one guy for the Kansas game, I believe, had done a couple Final Fours, but hasn't done a Final Four for 17 years.
Yeah.
And then there was another geriatric patient that was that we had on Saturday too. I've never seen before. And I swear he just went away. He just did a high school game the night before. I mean, so I'm hoping we get some guy like Kip Kissinger and all those other guys that do all the big games, and we get them for this game because it's I don't know where. I mean, I know we've added teams and we're not going to see the same officials before, but used to expect to see certain guys at games, and there's one guy that does a lot of games. I cannot remember his name. That I think he did the Kansas game. I'm hoping we get to see, that we get the. I mean, I think it's a little disrespectful when we go on the road and we get some of those guys. But that's just my.
Part of it might be too. Is like we're traveling the country too, so these might be old Pac-12 refs that we.
Yeah, it could be.
I never watched basketball too, so you know what I mean. It's just geographically we're burning a lot of Delta miles, So but I agree. I mean, there's times where it's just like there are games that are sometimes too big for these referees, and they get caught up in the hype of the game. I mean, the Javon Small and one at the end of the game where no one touched it. It was just like it's like the typical like Kansas and one where it's like someone's near you, they make a layup, they just call and one just to get continue the crowd momentum. So,
well, Hurley was complaining in his post-game press conference about the intentional foul. I mean, you can't undercut somebody.
That's a dangerous play.
Yeah, you can't. I mean, I think obviously Keyshawn is Keyshawn. He was selling it pretty hard. And when I saw Deontay Garrett come out and say something to him on the floor, they kind of smiled at each other. So I kind of knew what was going on. But you still can't undercut somebody. I mean, that was the call. So I listened. I was listening to this Arizona State podcast yesterday, and they were just going on and on and on about you can't play around with a team like Colorado, and they beat Colorado by 15. But they just kept going. They're just I don't know. I mean, I listened to some of these other podcasts. I kept thinking, gosh, I hope we don't sound like that because they're so negative towards their own team, and their own coaches and everything. I mean. Bobby Hurley's been there a long time, so I guess you guys probably have a point. He's been there 10 years, yeah. But I don't know. I mean, I hope we don't do that too much. We're both basketball guys, and we like to kind of get into the finer points of things. But I'll put this on record. I really hope Martine Rancic's kid from Colorado ends up transferring in the portal to us next year because that would be a fun story.
Yeah, was Martine at the reunion?
No, he was not. His kid had a game that game.
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so he wasn't there.
Yeah, I think what we're learning is kind of as this transfer portal era evolves is it's not all about talent. For sure not about talent. I mean, you look at these, like the highest payrolls in the country. I mean, one's Kansas State, and they suck. Well, one's Miami, they suck. Like
they played a little better Saturday.
But, like, you need a guy like TJ, where it's more of a GM, where he finds holes and he finds guys that fit those needs. And he just built like our roster. We play so well together, and like to get guys to get along in this transfer portal era, like transferring to a new college is a big deal. Like for Deshaun, he was in Charlotte last year, and he was in Washington State. Like he's traveled the entire country, probably never been to Iowa, and now he's the starting center on the number 3 team in the country. And TJ's done such a good job at kind of creating a culture similar to Matt Campbell, where guys just kind of come in, they feed off it and they really buy in, which I think is Kansas' biggest issue right now. But Kansas has talented guys, but you can just tell some guys are not that interested, and they're just probably cashing their checks and driving nice cars. And
well, I think that's what's going on. I mean, I think you've put these coaches and these colleges in a position where you're managing egos like the NFL and the NBA does, where one guy's getting paid a lot more than somebody else. AJ Storr is a good example. I mean, he's not doing anything for Kansas right now.
12 minutes of games, he does nothing.
Yeah, he's getting a lot of money, and now you're having to manage that part of the game too. And these guys just aren't built to manage that. I mean, and so I think by going out and getting mid-major guys that we don't have to pay a truckload of money to, there's the jealousy factor is probably pretty low. I mean, but I think like BYU, for example, they're paying this kid $6 million or whatever it is to come in next year. I mean, that's a big deal in your locker room. Especially if he comes in and decides he doesn't want to go full speed on conditioning workouts, and he's going half-assed in practice. I mean, that's a I don't know. I mean, that's something that I just don't think college coaches are built to manage, and TJ's doing a wonderful job of it so far.
And two, college coaches probably aren't determining how much each player is getting paid. You know what I mean? So like it's
No,
some
right.
of them, like Bill Self, like you just watch his body language as AJ Store plays. He's just so over it because there's times where AJ Store kind of goes hero ball and shoots a step back three, and this Bill Self throws his hands up and gets his sub ready, and he comes right out.
Well, I texted a friend of mine's a Kansas fan, and he was texting me during the Kansas game. He's just a basketball fan, so he doesn't rip on Iowa State. And I said, I think Bill, talking about Bill Self, I think Bill is tired of AJ, and his response was, "We all are." So that's that. But I think that's why we're having success. I mean, you don't have like Avery Johnson from Kansas State that's driving a purple Corvette up to the practice facility. I mean, I just don't think that's happening. They're getting paid, obviously, but they're not getting, life-changing money right now.
Right. I mean, think about like a guy like Chatfield. Chatfield's probably making decent money. He's probably not getting paid as much as Curtis or Keyshawn, but like he was in Seattle last year. He's from Idaho. He has no ties to Iowa, and he's playing meaningful minutes on a top 5 team. Like he's just got to be having a great time, which is so cool to find these guys that kind of get to play up a level and now are playing really meaningful basketball on a national stage, which I would argue that the media is still pretty good at not talking about us.
Jay Billis gave us a good plug at the game day the other day because they were talking about, we out-toughed Arizona State. And he said, yeah, when I walked in the facility at Iowa State, I saw TJ in a pair of shorts and a long-sleeve T-shirt, and it's 5 degrees outside. And he just looks at the other guys and goes, Iowa State's tougher than these other guys. So
yeah. Well, yeah, I think it helps because Jay Billis was just at Hilton. Like he gets to see
what he's talking about. Yeah.
Like we're finally getting the bigger names, and obviously Fran Fischel has been a big fan of us for a long time.
Sure.
And he's pretty fair too. Like he's not a homer by any means because I mean he's just a really sound basketball mind, and we're lucky to have him in the Big 12. But it's just nice to kind of see us finally get the respect that because I mean you look at what the job TJ's done, it is incredible what he inherited, and now we're a not controversial top 5 team. It's hard to imagine because the thing is too, he's still recruiting really well at the high school level. Like we have a top 10 recruiting class coming in next year again, which the high school recruits don't even get any love anymore because it's all about the transfer portal.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough sledding if you're a high school recruit right now, if you're going in expecting playing time.
Which I think it's going to open the door to these mid-majors where these kids come in, like Noyes is a 4-star recruit. He's not playing because we have a bunch of grown men that have been there. And the thing is, too, I think Noyes is probably smart enough. He doesn't think he should play over Curtis. You know what I mean? So, it might open the door to some mid-majors getting 1 year out of a higher recruit just to get taped to transfer up, which I don't know. I don't know if it's right or wrong. But the thing is, I think he's had a combination of getting guys out of high school. I mean, Taman, for instance. I mean, obviously, Taman being from Ames is probably something we don't talk about how lucky we are that he grew up an Iowa State fan.
Well, I'm pretty sure he got hurt, and he kind of fell off the radar for a lot of teams. Similar to Joshua Jefferson, he got hurt, kind of fell off the radar a little bit. So, TJ is, when you're at Iowa State, you got to take some gambles. I mean, because we could have not gotten the version of Joshua Jefferson that we have. So, I mean, we're knocking wood. Lucky that he's been healthy so far. So
yeah, but I mean, Taman too. Even if he didn't get hurt, I mean, if Iowa State offered him, I don't think he was going anywhere else. I mean,
no, right, yeah.
Revitalizing Monte Morris.
That picture of Keyshawn, Monte Morris, Taman, Eric After was a really cool picture we saw on social media this weekend. But
yeah, so we're extremely lucky to have the guys we have, and I think too is our guys really appreciate the love from the fans. Like I saw a video of Keyshawn, he was dapping up some kid during warm-ups. Kid asked him to come sign an autograph, and he gave him the time of day. And I think they just really enjoy. I mean, they're still kids too. I mean, these kids are 20 to 22 playing big-time basketball, making some money, but they're still kids, and they still really enjoy the support. And the thing is too, there are fan bases out there that boo their players.
Right.
That blows my mind.
That aren't very far from Hilton Coliseum.
Yeah, maybe where I live currently. I don't know. It's crazy. These these kids were in high school 1 to 4 years ago.
Right.
That I don't know. It just blows my mind. I think we're really good at propping kids up, and like Demarion, like we said 100 times, like it just makes me so happy. And because he gets the biggest pop of anyone.
Yeah.
Demarion comes in, crowd goes nuts. He goes out, crowd goes nuts, just to show our appreciation. And it definitely goes like it doesn't go unnoticed. Like those kids really appreciate it, and that's what I just love our style of basketball, because it just fits so well with Hilton, because we just appreciate people like Iowans who work hard and do it the right way, and we do. And we just play so hard all the time, and it's just fun to watch. And I mean, we're 17-2.
Crazy. And then on ESPN.com, they got the predictor, and they've got Arizona has a 56.6% chance of winning tonight. I mean, we're favored, but Vegas has got us favored by 1, I believe. And now that they actually have ESPN's odds have Arizona a 2.5-point favorite now. I swear I woke up this morning and Iowa State was a 1-point favorite.
Maybe that's what it opened at. I don't know. I can check.
Yeah. So what do you think about tonight?
I don't know. I mean, I don't think I'm not going in tonight expecting to win. I wasn't going to expect, like, my expectation for the Arizona trip was not to go 2-0. We got the Arizona State game, so I think if we lose, I'm not going to panic, I guess is my point. That being said, I don't ever expect us to lose. And the thing is, the way we play well enough just to keep us in it. If last 5 minutes, it all comes down to the last 5 minutes of execution. That's what happened in the West Virginia game. We didn't execute well enough to win. We did at Arizona State. I think we're mentally tougher than Arizona. They obviously have some arrogance about them, which a team with 6 losses doesn't totally make sense, and they haven't been ranked since like November. I think they're just they probably look down upon Iowa State because we're not a quote unquote blue blood of the past, and they are, I guess, but the Arizona's favorite too. Which whatever. Our guards are better than them. Caleb Love has been horrible as of late. He was like 2 for 12 from the field last game. That kind of scares me because he's probably due to making shots. And I think the biggest difference this year is our bigs are as good as anyone's. Like, no one is going to come in and outsize us, out rebound us, really. I mean, our rebounding this year has been incredible. So I think it's going to come down to if we make shots, which on the road is tough. And without Milan is even tougher. So if we make 7 threes, I think we win. If we don't, I think we lose.
Yeah, I was listening to I was telling you this Arizona podcast I was listening to, and I think I'm trying to pull it up here, but this Del Orso, was their leading scorer against Colorado.
Yeah,
and I don't know enough anything about him, but these guys said, I hope he's never the leading. If he's the leading scorer again, we're in trouble. So
they're paying Caleb Love millions of dollars to be there, and he just hasn't.
Yeah, Caleb Love against Colorado was 3 for 14, 10 points.
Yeah, I watched him against Texas Tech. He was a mess. He was jacking shots at the end, and they weren't even close.
And number 3 is Del Orso, and he was 6 for 9 from 3 against Colorado, had 20. But then Caleb was 2 for 8. Jaden Bradley was 0 for 4. They ended up being 9 for 27 from 3. So this Toby Awaka is their big guy. I mean, he's gonna be a handful for our big guys too, I think. But no, I don't count us out against anybody. I mean, unless we just turn it over or get another injury of some type. I mean, something unforeseen. I mean, I think we get to the last 5 minutes against anybody. I like our chances.
Yep, 100%. Yeah. And that's one thing too. I think we talked about with the West Virginia game is we turn the ball over more than we typically do, which was a big deal, and especially when we're not turning the other team over. But we just have guys that are due. Like Heisey's due to make shots. Taman's due to make shots. So I don't being on the road in a place you never played before probably isn't the game to do it, but we also play a brand of basketball that's not really fun to play against. And when guys are already struggling, and I think it probably wears on you mentally, it only makes it worse. And people can kind of spiral pretty quickly. And I mean, Caleb Love's he's probably still wakes up at night in a sweat thinking about Caleb Grill. So
yeah, well, I think I think the McHale Center is not Allen Fieldhouse.
No.
The McHale Center is not West Virginia's stadium. The McHale Center is not where Houston plays. So I think our kids have been in an environment, for the most part, a lot of them have been in an environment like that before. And I just don't think we're going to get shook. So, I mean, any game, like we were down 7 at halftime against Arizona State, and I wasn't worried at all. I mean, I think if we're at halftime, if we're within shouting distance of somebody, we're fine. I mean, we're down 20.
What is that to you? Like, if we're down 15, I'm still not that worried.
Yeah, I mean, unless it's, it depends on the time of the game, but
yeah,
it's the fact that we have to get runouts. I mean, we didn't get any against West Virginia, and we have got to have, they call them, the trendy term is live ball turnovers, but we've got to get, some of those where we're running to the rim and maybe getting and one or something like that. But if teams keep us from running like that, then we're in trouble. I mean, because we got to get a few cheap ones like that. Because we put so much effort into defense, is that if you don't get a live ball turnover, then it's a little deflating to our kids and it makes the effort on the defensive end harder. So if we get, reward by a dunk or even an open layup by Taman or whatever, by our guards, that makes things a lot easier. And I think the funnest play that we have this year right now is a fast break 3 by Curtis. I mean, take away all the dunks, but when we get a steal and it's a fast break and Curtis pulls up for a 3 and nails it, that's the funnest play we have in our bag right now. And it is so deflating to the other team.
Yeah, I mean, that one turnover, the loose ball that ended up in Curtis's hands against Kansas where he just jacks it up. And, I mean, how many times have you said after Curtis shoots a 3, you're just like, no way? And then it goes
I'm done saying that. I mean, you mean no way it's going to go? Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
It's like, no way that one goes in for the 4th time in a row. And then, when it's
Phil saying look out, and this guy even this clown they had in Arizona State even said look out too. But people that complain about ESPN Plus, by the way, since we're on ESPN Plus, you're going to get Homer announcers because they're going to be local guys. And
Chris Patola's not a local guy. He's like a medium-sized name in ESPN.
Well, I mean, but look at our guys. When we're on ESPN Plus, we're usually getting there's 2. We have Jess Settles, and then the other guy's from Iowa as well that calls the game. He's from Cedar Rapids or something like that. So you're going to get guys. I'm just saying, you're going to get guys that are probably leaning towards the home team.
Yeah. Chris Patola, that's Mike Krzyzewski's son-in-law, the guy from the Arizona State game.
Well, there you go. So there's the connection with Bobby Hurley.
But, I mean, he's not like a local Arizona guy, I guess is my point. But, yeah,
but he has a connect. What is his name?
Chris Spatola. He played at Army, I think.
Spatola?
But he is like down in like the Bahamas and calls like the Battle for Atlantis. Like he's a decently sized name for an announcer.
Oh, yeah.
So
he's not very
good.
It's
not like when we went to UCF last year where it was just 2 guys from Orlando.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, that's going to happen every once in a while. But
yeah, I mean, but if you look at the Big 12 standings, like Arizona's tied with us for second. So this is a big game as far as the Big 12 race goes. I think, honestly, with Houston winning this weekend at Kansas, my hope is a lot worse for us winning the Big 12 just because Houston's so tough. And, like, they just have grinded out a couple close games on the stretch. So it's going to take them to slip up for us to win it probably, unless we beat them at Houston, which I don't think anyone probably is going to expect us to do. We're definitely capable of doing it. But, I mean, if you want to win the Big 12, you got to win games like this. So
right. Yep. No, there's no doubt. Yeah, he is a Coach K guy. Huh. Interesting. Yeah, well, no, I don't like the tip time. Obviously, it's going to be a late night, and we're probably going to have people that are recording it and watching the next day. But I think we're okay. I mean, I don't know that much about Arizona, but there isn't anybody on our schedule right now that scares me, to be honest with you.
Same. Yeah, I mean, how many times in history could you look at both rosters and say, "Yep, Iowa State's more talented"?
Right.
That's the case. We're more talented. We play harder. We should win. Doesn't mean we're going to. On the road in the Big 12 is always a slog. But I don't know. They got a pretty good coach too, Tommy Lloyd, I think.
Yeah.
He does a pretty good job. Where was he at before Arizona?
I have no idea. I'd never heard of him before.
I think it was with Xavier or something, maybe.
Yeah, no, I don't know who he is. Well, we better.
I guess let's just go through our remaining schedule quick. Okay.
No, it's okay. I mean, if you our remaining schedule.
Yeah, just because you said no one scares us, I just want to see.
Well, there's something in the Big 12 that scares me. I mean, we have.
Let's go through it.
That's Arizona.
No, other than Houston. Houston is really, really good.
I'd rather play them than UCF. I mean,
yeah, right. And the thing with Houston is, like, I don't hate Houston. I actually really like Houston. I think Kelvin Sampson's a really good coach, and I just really like when respected coaches pay us compliments, which Kelvin Sampson, Bill Self both do, and I just think it shows that they kind of are able to like swallow their ego and just give credit where credit is due, where there are other coaches, maybe like the ones we played last game, that don't do that, which is irritating. So we at Arizona today, K-State next weekend, and then at Kansas. So like, that's a decently tough stretch. Kansas
that's a Saturday, Monday. That's a Saturday, Monday again too.
Then after that, TCU at home, at UCF, Cincinnati, who is just spiraling, who started the Big 12 play ranked, and now I think we have like 1 or 2 wins in the Big 12. Colorado at home, then at Houston in about a month. So I'll be interesting to see if Milan's back by then. If not, that's going to be a flooding. And then we end the year at Okie State, who's bad, Arizona and BYU at home, and then at K-State for the finale, which would be awesome to beat Jerome Tang to clinch the Big 12 title.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. The games that, I guess, if we're just looking at it, that are maybe losses today, at Kansas, at Houston, like, I don't think we're going to lose at home to those teams.
Yeah.
So that's, what's that, 16-4 in Big 12 play? If we lose all 3, which I don't think we will.
Yeah. I don't know. Well, we got to take them, like they say, we got to take them one at a time, starting with
which TJ does a good job of. It doesn't mean we have to totally subscribe to that process.
Yeah, that's right. All right. Well, if you're looking for a Sound the Siren shirt like the one I'm wearing, this black one, we've got some white ones. So we've got a whiteout coming up, don't we?
K-State, I think.
Yeah. So we have white. We have white Sound the Siren shirts. If you're interested, soundthesirens.com. We'll get it out to you. You'll have it in time for the game on Saturday. But look forward to a late tip tonight, and hopefully when we get back together again, we're heading into Kansas State and ready to hammer them on Saturday after another big win. And going 2-0 on this Arizona swing would be phenomenal.
Yeah, I don't think anyone had us down for 2-0 at the beginning of the year, but I mean, we won the first one, so now it's all in front of us.
That's right. Yep. All right. Again, congratulations to Thomas on the little bit of pub he got in the social media, being the number 4 sports podcast in Iowa. So hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, give us a 5-star review if you want. Tell your friends and help us get a few more listeners. That'd be awesome. So go Cyclones.